show. But today we have on Kim Regic. I didn't ask how to properly pronounce your
No,
name.
you got it. That's it. That
Kim
Cam
Regic.
Regic. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that your actual name, or is that
It's
a
the name I use professionally. All of the work that I produced is put under that name. It's the only
Kim
name
Regic?
that means anything to me.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, yeah, we got Kim Regic joining us today. He's gonna tell us why we should stop doing philosophy, because you had said in your email, the email is titled, it says please stop doing philosophy. That I
Please stop
actually
doing philosophy.
you
Please. It's hurting you. I saw you in pain, my brother. You
uh-huh.
were sitting on that live stream, hurting yourself, self
Yeah.
harming, and that other fella was just cutting himself all over the place. And I couldn't have that. As a
Yeah.
therapist, I have to step in and say, listen, man, the philosophy, it's hurting
Okay. All right.
you.
So I am very curious about, I guess, what it is you're
Sure.
gonna bring to the table. Cause like, so my first thoughts before you tell me what it is. Now, when you said that we shouldn't do philosophy, that seems to be a philosophical position.
Correct. Yeah, that would be right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And before you accuse me of being hypocritical, I will actually absorb that and say that yes, I am 100% being a hypocrite when I say that.
Okay.
And that's kind of the point.
All right.
Philosophy is nonsensical and self-contradictory by definition. So any philosophical position you take is going to end up being self-contradictory and nonsensical, including the one that I'm telling you, which is you should stop doing philosophy.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll be. I want to hear what you got first,
Sure, man.
and because and then I want to challenge you, because I think I got some philosophical positions
Okay,
that
okay.
I don't think are contradictory. Like, they may be wrong, but I don't think they're contradictions.
I will be more than happy to show you how they're nonsensical and contradictory in a moment.
Okay.
But first, I think I should introduce myself. My name is Cam Regic. For those who don't know me, I'm a Second Amendment activist. I'm a writer. I'm an artist. I'm an anti-fascist. I do stuff on the side. But every now and again, I get on to people's podcasts and I talk to them. You may have seen me on Breakfast Tacos. You may have seen me on YouTube. Gonna go for it. You may have seen me on the Proverbs guys. I hung out with those guys for like a hot second before they all went to shit. Um, so I've been doing this for a little bit, but I try to keep my mouth shut because most of the time I feel like the arguments are pretty played out. We've got somebody else in the chat here, Facade.
Yeah, the facade. He's my co-host. He's also he'll chime in whenever he can. He
Hell yeah.
is in the middle of this really lengthy home project that's taking all of his time, and I think it's be kind of noisy. I think he's hammering and using
Oh,
some of the
fair
tools.
enough.
That's
Fair
why
enough.
he's silent right here. But he's also listening.
Cool, 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 cool. All right.
All that is true.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Good to see you, Facade. Thanks for hanging out.
So, all right. So I guess I like to hear what's all right. So lay it all out for me.
Okay, well, we have to start at the beginning, and
Okay.
the beginning before I'm gonna preface this by saying that those who are aware of what I'm talking about will recognize this as a sort of synthesis Wittgenstein, and I want to preface that despite the fact that him and I probably agree on most things, I did arrive at this position independently. I'm only now slowly exploring his work in order to get a better grasp of the language that philosophers use to describe this position. But I don't want people to think that I'm just biting Wittgenstein and calling it my own. Um, I think we need to start at the core of the argument that he made in his first work, which is the Tractatus. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to paint a picture for you. I want you to imagine, Tribule, I want you to imagine that you're holding a cube, like
Okay.
a solid metal cube in your hand. It's about 6 inches by 6 inches by 6 inches. It fits in both of your hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're holding it. And the cube is very cool. It's very useful. It's nifty. We can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. We can use it as a paperweight. We can stack it on top of things. We can plug it into things and power those things. It's really cool. It's really nifty. The only problem with the cube is that it's made of solid uranium. like enriched, refined uranium. So the
Like
longer
what
that
kind of
you
like weaponized enriched?
just really really pure, highly radioactive, refined uranium, right?
Okay, it's gonna kill me.
It's the more that you touch it, the more it hurts you over time, right? So when I hopped into your live stream the other night, or when I hopped into the chat rather, I noticed that your hands are like covered in scars and little pustules, and no, I'm serious, and like
Yeah.
little cuts, and this terrible
So,
terrible radiation sickness has like taken hold
uh,
of you, like metaphorically speaking.
oh, okay. I thought you actually saw my hand. I do got a
No,
bunch of
no, no,
cuts
no, no,
and
no,
stuff on
no.
my hand.
Remember the cube. You're holding the cube in your hand,
Oh,
right?
okay, okay, okay. All right. So you
So
can see my hands from there. All right.
yeah, no, 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 no. You
Yeah.
look beautiful, brother. Don't worry about that. But
All
I mean,
right.
metaphorically, like the more that you handle this cube, the more it starts to hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I want you to hold that thought in your mind before we do anything with it. I want you now to imagine that you're walking around in the woods, and you're walking around, and you've got this big roll of chicken wire with you for no reason, but you're walking around in the woods with this chicken wire, and you come across a rock, like a really big rock that you think, wow, that rock, that's the coolest rock I've ever seen. I don't know where the hell I am in the forest, but when I get out, I want to make sure that everybody that I know can experience what it's like to see this rock, to touch this rock. I want something that can describe this rock without having to lug the thing back home with me, because it's fucking massive. Like this thing has got to be 400 pounds. You look strong as hell, dude, but I don't think that you're lifting that. So you take the roll of chicken wire and you wrap it around this rock, and you press down the chicken wire to make sure it conforms to the shape of this rock. And you cut the excess off, and very carefully you remove the rock from the chicken wire. But when you're done, you've got this working model, this chicken wire model, this wireframe. That's the word I'm going to be using, wireframe, of the rock. And that thing weighs, I don't know, a couple of ounces. You can lug that thing around and show it to people, and you have this model of the rock. This is what Wittgenstein called the picture theory of language, right? Which is a correspondence theory of language, but that's for philosophers later. But the point is that when we use language, what we're actually doing is we're employing this chicken wire and wrapping it around things that we observe in reality, like rocks and trees and you and me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we use those wireframes to construct models of the world that we observe so that we can communicate valuable information about this world. What philosophy does is it takes this chicken wire and it wraps it around nothing, and it creates a shape in 3D. It's a valid three-dimensional shape, but it's not wrapped around anything. And then you slap a label on that model and you call it rockness. And that's the problem of philosophy. By the time you have done that, you're sick. You have contracted an illness that makes you think that you can wrap chicken wire around nothing.
So
and call it something.
Here.
Shoot.
So would that be more applicable to metaphysics?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, but you wouldn't apply that to like philosophy of the sciences, like for instance, like methodological naturalism. Like you wouldn't apply it.
I don't even know what that is.
So like methodological naturalism is just saying that you can't appeal to the supernatural for a cause. Right.
Yeah,
for instance,
sure.
like, if I work with computers.
Okay.
If something isn't working improperly, I'm not going to be like, oh, there's a demon inside. If I just exercise the demon, the computer will work properly. Right.
I mean, you could. Whether or not you'd get the results you want is a different question.
Right. Well, so right. So what I'm saying. Is the philosophical foundation for how we do science, for how the West and how any good scientist does science is methodological naturalism.
Sure.
Like, would you say like the analogy you gave? You say would it apply to that type of philosophy? Because I can see how metaphysics get like that.
It applies. So when you take these three concepts, right? The cube is language. So the more that you manipulate language, the more it starts to hurt you, and it begins to enfeeble your mind. Wittgenstein said that the task of philosophy was to combat the bewitchment of the mind by language, right? So when you take this pill, I guess, three things immediately explode: metaphysics,
Mm-hmm.
ethics, and theology. Immediately explode. They they are
Ethics.
they are collapsed into language, and you can just say
Mm.
everything within metaphysics is just a feature of language. None of it is real. None of it has correspondence with reality. I would say that you can Occam's razor it out of your entire discussion. But as you rightfully have pointed out, there are some legitimate uses for philosophical quandaries, right? So this is where Wittgenstein would step in and say, well, the point of philosophy is to dissolve these problems rather than to resolve them. But
Mhm.
I see that you have a question.
Yeah. So no, you said that. Okay. I guess this is back to where you were talking about language. Right? How
Sure.
language is carving up the rock. Right now, and I guess because language is carving up the rock. So, but we're in order for language to describe the rock, it can't describe it perfectly, right? The rock can only be described in a way that is suitable for the language.
Actually, well, I
Is
would say that the
that
that the language you're using is constructed to serve specific utilities. So the
right?
rock can be described insofar as you have linguistic need to describe the rock.
Okay.
If you have a linguistic need to describe its texture or to describe its size, like you can construct a language to provide you with those tools.
What would be the limitation? Because it sounded like at first maybe you was critiquing language itself.
No, no, no.
No, you
Language is
weren't.
like I said. The cube of
Okay,
uranium is very useful, right? We
gotcha.
need to use it, and it does do genuinely good things that we like.
Hmm.
It's the prolonged exposure that I would critique as the problem. The more that you use it, the more philosophy you do, and the more philosophy you do, the sicker you get, and the sicker you get, the more philosophy you do.
Okay. Now, I could see certain realm when we talk about metaphysics, like I could see certain realms of ontology that could probably be useless, right? Like we talk about like Plato and the forms.
Right,
Like Plato and Aristotle's big argument, right?
right,
That
right.
he believed the forms was in some heavenly place, right?
Yeah,
Some transcendent place, and Aristotle's like, no, the form is actually inside the thing. Like in that, I guess I could see how that could lead into other type of philosophies, but to me, that discussion when I was learning about that in school, like it just seemed kind of silly, right?
yeah, correct.
So now we go into like other types of philosophy, like for instance, ethics. Now
Sure.
you said like you would toss that out.
I would collapse it into language. So everything that we say in ethics
Hmm.
is just a feature of the language that we use to describe ethics, right? So terms like good and bad or evil or morality, these are linguistic constructions that have bewitched us into thinking that they are real.
Well,
So by
okay,
necessity, this makes me a moral anti-realist, but
all right. Oh, we're on opposite spectrums. Like I am a
interesting.
moral realist.
Okay. Can you
So
give me like a moral fact that you could just, off the top of your head?
yeah, all right. So now when I give you like this moral fact,
Sure.
I am saying it is like it is true within the context of the moral framework. So I'll say like stealing is immoral. I'll say
Okay.
that's a fact because that's based on that's if you accept the definite my definition of immoral.
Okay. Now, can I ask you where in the world you have bumped into that moral fact?
I haven't. That is
Right.
a description of that's a description of an act, right? So like
Right.
I couldn't put immorality in a jar or count it or anything like that. Like it's
Right.
it's just it's just a description.
Correct.
I'm
It's a
okay.
linguistic description. It's a linguistic thing that you've done. You've used language to describe a series of conceptual objects, right? The not stealing, not a theft specifically, but the concept of stealing, right?
Hmm.
That's a linguistic thing that you've constructed, and then you've constructed another thing called immorality and attached it to this other linguistic thing. And I would simply say neither of these two things have correspondence with reality. You've attached an idea to an idea that's gobbledygook.
So
That doesn't make any sense.
So I guess let's talk about my moral basis first.
Sure.
Like for instance, so like my basis of morality is well-being.
Okay.
And I typically I divide well-being into these prongs: health, wealth, happiness, security, and freedom.
Okay.
And then I add the caveat that there could be some other category that could be used to describe well-being, but everything that I think of would fall into these one of these prongs.
Right.
Right? Like you kill somebody that violates their health, it also violates their happiness or security. It violates all the prongs, right? If I punch you, I'm violating your health. Might also violate your wealth as well, because now you have to go to the doctor. It violate your security because you feel less safe, right? So like any if I was to violate any one of those prongs, I would say I am doing something immoral to you.
Sure.
Now I'm using the language to describe that, but the thing that I'm describing is something real, something that you can experience, right? You can experience being healthy. You can experience being happy.
I cannot experience the morality of my happiness. The morality of my happiness is a constructed thing within language.
But the violation, if I were to do something that would make you less happy,
sure,
I couldn't say that it is immoral.
You can,
and you can experience that decrease in happiness. So
yes,
I am describing
but
something
the immorality
real.
of that action is at no point experienced by anyone. It's just linguistically described. Or linguistically declared, even. I wouldn't even say that you're like describing anything, because you are not observing immorality out in the world and wrapping chicken wire around it.
Right. So no, you're not. So the label is morality, right?
Right.
You don't experience the label, but the actual thing that the label applies to, your decrease in happiness or your decrease in health, is something that you are experiencing.
Maybe. So I think, suppose that I'm a person who actually enjoys being stolen from. How does that... Suppose that in your stealing from me, you actually increase my happiness. Does that break your model?
No. It wouldn't. So, I mean, like... So, stealing from you violates your property, whether you enjoy it or not. So, it would still be immoral.
Okay. Well,
so it can't violate any of the prongs. So like for some reason, let's say like a more realistic example, I steal from you and you just don't know it, right? You're just so wealthy you don't even notice, right?
Sure.
So your happiness may not be affected at all,
right?
But I still violated one of the prongs, which is stealing from you. Sure. So like I harmed your wealth. So you
can I ask you where you got this moral framework?
Yeah, so it's a definition that I essentially kind of just made up. So
then you're not a moral realist.
Well, so when I say I made it up, what I mean is, so I've listened to a bunch of other philosophers. There's people that had a huge effect on like my position. What's his name? Sam Harris, Matt Dillahunty. Probably him, like more than anyone, had a huge impact on how I define morality. And then I came up with my own system that I thought was pretty strong. And so now that system, like I put those thoughts together, but the thing that I'm describing is real. So like the labels I made up, but those descriptions, like when I say well-being, those 5 prongs, they all constitute your experience. Think about, so I say health, wealth, happiness, security, and freedom. Like anything that you experience, they could be described in one of those prongs. Like just think about it. Like any way that I can harm you.
I would say that all of those prongs are defined linguistically, and that they don't actually have correspondence with anything in reality.
I mean, not to be that guy, but everything is described linguistically.
Correct.
That is
very
language.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
So you're not negating a fact of something being by saying you're describing it linguistically. That is a moot point.
Well, it's actually not a moot point because
It is because
no,
you can say everything is described linguistically, and
yes.
unless you are a non-realist in its entirety, in which case nothing is real and there's no point to this conversation or any other conversation you have.
So
Everything is linguistic by definition because we are describing things to each other.
well, not everything is linguistic in nature. So like the rocks, the
Everything you can
hold on,
communicate is
hold on.
linguistic.
Well, yes, all the things that we can communicate are linguistic, but not everything that exists is linguistic, right?
Can
We
you
need to
give
make
me
that.
an example of something that is not linguistic?
Yeah, the chair I'm sitting on.
Nope, that is language. You just
No,
used to
no, no,
tell
no, no,
me
no,
what it
no. Hold
is.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. The physical object, not linguistic. The
Okay, the
word.
measure
Hold
of
on, hold.
happiness is exactly how AAA is describing this thing.
Hold
When
on.
he says he's stealing something and it may take away from your wealth, you're talking about the measure of wealth itself.
Yes. So
Like
again,
the
returning.
physical wealth. If I took a $20 bill from you, we're not talking about me describing the $20 bill. We're talking about the $20 bill, the physical object which we call wealth.
Yes, but notice
So, like when you
that there
say you're
are two
describing it
things. Hold
linguistically
on.
as, and that makes it a moot point
No, it doesn't.
because
So
you're describing a chair just like he's describing the actual function of what these things take away from you.
yes, but you'll notice that I'm wearing a hazmat suit and you're not. So there's clearly something else going on here.
Okay,
When
but
I
I can't see you and you can't see me, so you don't know what I'm wearing and I don't know what you're wearing. You just described something
yeah,
linguistically, as a matter
so
of fact. So
so
therefore,
if
moot
you'd give me
point,
just a
right?
minute. If you'd give me just a minute. So notice that when I talk about the chair that I'm sitting on, there are actually two things present in the room with us. There is the physical object, and then there is the chicken wire that I wrapped around the physical object to use to communicate to you, right?
Hmm.
So the chair itself, the object, does exist non-linguistically. The wireframe that I use to communicate ideas about the chair only exists linguistically. The only difference between this and the term happiness is that the word chair has correspondence with something that actually exists in the real world, an
And
object.
happiness corresponds to a person's state of current emotional affairs.
Maybe, but it's not an object that you and I can actually like interact with. It's
In
again a
it,
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 cognitive
I would
object.
say it is. Like
it
so
is
you,
an object that you can interact with, and
right.
it's defined
So
by electrical impulses in your brain, which are physical.
yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm a physicalist about these things as well, but like happiness as a term is not like you've never picked up someone's happiness and held it,
Because
you know?
happiness is a
Yeah, but
description.
Yeah,
That's a description.
you can't
You
pick up chair.
right. You can't pick up
You
the
can pick up a
description.
specific chair.
yes,
You can pick
correct,
up your chair, but you
correct,
can't pick up the concept of a chair.
correct. In the same way that you can't pick up the concept of somebody's happiness.
Right, but you can impact a person's happiness, not the concept of happiness itself. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about impacting someone's actual happiness. If I like, and it's better to do it with something other than happiness because there's a real way you could see this physically. If we talk about physical harm, if I come up and I cut you with a knife, you're going to bleed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I'm inflicting the concept of pain upon you. I'm saying it is apparent by the cut that you are in pain, right? Like the thing that you're experiencing is something you can indeed experience. We're not saying that this is some abstract idea. We're saying I caused you physical harm.
Right, but
We're not talking
the
about
moment
physical harm as a
hold on.
concept.
So the action of cutting somebody is one thing. Communicating the idea of cutting somebody and the idea of harm, which is what philosophy does and what we're doing right now, is entirely linguistic. And it's
Incorrect,
important.
because the philosophy can also tell you about the scientific understanding of cutting
Actually,
someone.
philosophy can't tell you anything.
How do you define philosophy then?
Philosophy is the bewitchment of your mind by
Ah, you
language.
see, that's it. There's the problem already. We have a linguistic definition that is fundamentally different from one another.
Correct. I mean, that's
Philosophy,
all of philosophy. So I
well,
hope you're
but
strapped in.
you're not allowed to use it if you're going to call it a bewitchment because I'm
No,
not
I
going to
can use
accept your
it. So
definition.
so so again, Notice that I'm wearing.
So
a
you're
hazmat
willingly
suit.
bewitching yourself per your own definition of philosophy.
Yes, I have
So-
to. In order to show you the way out of the fly bottle, I have to get in the fly bottle. And you'll
You
notice that
see
it's hurting me right
that's
now.
a paradox.
No, that's just philosophy, and philosophy is nonsensical and contradictory by definition.
See, so I'm going to say that, like by nature, everything you just said is unsensical by definition.
Correct.
Does that make me correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so and everything you just said, since it's nonsensical, I can disregard without reason.
You can, but again, notice that I'm wearing a hazmat suit and you're not. And I'm
Incorrect,
I'm
good
suggesting
sir.
that you
I'm
step
also
out
wearing a
of the
hazmat
room.
suit.
Hold on, hold on, guys. So, you said that the hazmat suit.
Yes.
That's kind of going over my head. Well, can you explain like
Sure.
where you getting at when you say you're wearing a hazmat suit and he's not?
So I am consciously aware of the fact that everything that we do within philosophy is just a linguistic trap, right? It's a linguistic game that we're playing. So long as I have that knowledge or that realization in my head, I am to some degree protected from some of the harm that philosophy does to you.
See, but what you're doing is you're setting up your own poison and then choosing to drink it, and then by calling it poison.
Facade. I have to drink an amount of this poison in order to demonstrate to you that the poison is harmful.
Only when you
believe
when you define it as poison, and then you must demonstrate that it is indeed poison.
Yes.
So, I want to think. I think you might be committing a fallacy. I think you might be committing a map fallacy. Like you're conflating the map for the place. Because you had asked, you had said, "Well, can I pick up a chair?" Like the word, right? So like there are things that exist, and there are descriptions of things that exist.
Sure.
And so, when like my moral system, I'm just giving descriptions. Like I'm in no way saying that the descriptions themselves exist. But the thing that I'm
some people
describing,
do. That's the thing, Tribulate. Like some people do, and the more you do philosophy, the more of these non-real things you will convince yourself are real. Like morality. I would say that everybody who considers themselves a moral realist has done the thing that you have described just now by saying that the concept of a chair is real. In the same way
no. I'm not saying so. I'm not saying the concept of a chair is real.
No, but I'm giving you an example of a thing that actually does happen, though. Like this is what moral realists do when they say that moral facts actually exist. They're saying that the concept of the chair exists just as much as the chair exists.
Okay, well,
which is why I don't think you're a moral realist.
That position is further than I would go. I mean, that sounds more like some like Platonic type of positions, right?
Like, well, I mean, I don't think you have to be a Platonist to be a moral realist. Most theists.
Well, you don't have to, but if we're going to say like concepts themselves actually exist, like I don't think there's some world of the forms where there's a concept of a chair or a concept of a computer, right? So like I think there's just this world that can interact with itself and interact with things in it.
Sure.
And I think you can describe those things.
Yes. There is a problem, though, that when you get outside the bounds of correspondence, right, the links that we make between our language and the real world, when you start describing things that don't have correspondence, you become bewitched, right? And again, I use the example of the moral realist who thinks that murder is wrong is a thing that exists outside of human conception. It's mind independent. If you've ever met a divine command theorist, this is kind of what they're talking about.
All right. So yes, I that to me that is nonsense. But when I say murder is wrong, like I'm describing a state of affairs. Like if you were to say murder harms people,
sure.
You have said that murder is immoral because it is by definition immoral.
Okay.
So even then, like, would you say that's nonsense?
It exists only within language. I would say that it's nonsense in the sense that it exists only as a part of language.
This description exists only within language.
Correct.
Okay, but if languages didn't exist, and I murdered you, you'd be harmed.
Maybe, but we would have no way to meaningfully talk about it.
Right. Yeah,
That
but you
doesn't
don't have
matter,
to
but
talk
the
about
state
it.
of affairs would change.
Maybe, but
And you
again,
wouldn't
No,
like
no, no, no. That's
this
not a
argument.
maybe.
No, it is a
That,
maybe.
that's not a
Again,
maybe. If the
talking.
state of affairs are going from you being alive to you being dead, that is a different state of affairs.
Again, maybe, but
That's
we
not
can.
a maybe.
You're not letting me finish my response, man.
You
Maybe
can't
the state
say
of
that
affairs have
if one
changed.
state changes from A to non-A, it's no longer A. That is
Okay.
the like.
It might very well be the case that A is no longer A. But if we don't have language, like Tribulate has just, if we're talking about a situation in which somebody is killed and there is no language to describe it, it doesn't matter if the state has changed. There's no way to
Does
meaningfully
matter. It
describe
doesn't matter whether you can describe it or
It
not.
does matter.
It does not matter.
It absolutely does.
It does not matter whether you can describe someone being murdered.
Alex, can you explain what the difference would be?
Yeah, in one of these things, in one of these cases, right, a murder has happened. In the other, who the fuck knows? We have no language to describe it.
Okay, but let me kind of break this down and give you a really, really simple analogy. And this is going to be terrible for the sake of being terrible, right?
It's okay.
There's you're an investigator for the police.
Okay.
And you get called to a crime scene. And you walk in, and in the crime scene, there's just hundreds of dead bodies. I mean, there's just people cut up all to pieces, okay? But you don't find a murder weapon. So you close the case and say, there was no murder weapon, therefore there was no murder.
Uh-huh.
Is that a good investigation?
How do you define good?
One that would help you realize the actualization of the events that happened in the scenario.
Whoa, man, that was a lot of gobbledygook. Can you explain that in correspondent terms, please?
Sure, you're trying to determine the physical events that took place that led to the death of these people.
Okay.
And you dismissed it because you didn't immediately find a weapon that may have been used in said events.
Okay. Then yeah, maybe the investigation's not very good. What's your point?
Okay, great. So you would say no murder happened.
I think you're misunderstanding the statement that I made. Let me roll this back. So we were talking about we have two events that happen, right? In world A person kills another person, and in that world nobody has any language to describe that event. And in world B, the same thing has happened, but we have language to describe the event. The
Sure.
only thing that I'm saying is that in world B, a murder has clearly occurred. And in world A, nobody really knows what happened because nobody has linguistic tools to describe it.
Incorrect. Just because you don't have linguistic tools to describe something doesn't mean you're unaware of what happened.
You can be aware, but in order to meaningfully communicate what has happened,
Okay,
you do need
okay, but
language.
now you're confusing the map for the place, and this is a definite fallacy here because what you just said was that the thing still happened. We're just unable to communicate.
The thing maybe happened. We
No,
have
no, no,
way
no.
of
You
knowing.
said the
No, it
thing
definitely
did
happened.
happen. You said in both worlds someone got murdered.
Yes,
but in world A,
within the world A, within the view
there
of
is
world
no
A,
way
there is
to
no way of knowing
communicate that
what happened.
effectively.
Correct.
Right.
Well,
So what
it's
you're saying
because there's no
between
way
the
to-
difference in world A and world B is a lack of communication,
Right,
not
but
a lack of murder.
The lack of communication means that we can't define the event as murder.
Well, no, that world cannot. But because
Correct.
we live in a world with language, we can define it as such and understand
that's-
what everybody in this conversation means by the word murder.
Yes, but
Just
that's
and by the way, to
presupposing
go back to
conditions that
Triple
don't
A's,
exist in world A.
but no, to go back to Triple A's point, the state of affairs definitely changed in A, and it's still murder and wrong if you
No.
accept his definition of morality.
No, I'm very sorry, but in order to say that a murder happened in world A,
You
would
need to have language.
You would have to import and presuppose.
No,
ideas
you
that
don't have to
exist in
presuppose
world A.
anything. You have to have language.
I think there's an issue here because you say like in order to say that a murder happened,
Right.
right? Okay, but a murder happened, or the thing that the murder would describe happened regardless of
Maybe,
whether
but in
somebody
order
described it or
for
not.
you to say that it happened, you have to import things that do not exist
But-
in
but-
world A.
But what I'm saying is, it happened whether you said it or not.
Again, maybe it happened. But
No,
in
you
order,
gave the scenario in which both happened. You
yes,
don't get
but
to say
in order
it
from
didn't happen in one if we're saying it happened in both and there's just
in
no language
order
in one.
Yes, because we are observing these two from the outside, but the judgments are not being made from the outside. They're being made from the
Okay,
inside.
but
So
That's
within
from
world
an
epistemic,
A,
though.
a murder
external
happened.
standpoint, it definitely happened,
But
and you and I can talk about it. The people inside may not have any meaningful way of communicating that with each other,
correct.
but the incident definitely happened.
Right, but the reason I have described this is for you to see that us talking about it from the outside is actually irrelevant. What we care about is what can be said from within these two positions. So
Okay,
within
but
world B,
within these like two positions, what you're saying is you've effectively eradicated any meaningful communication in one. Therefore, there is nothing to be said about it. But the event
correct.
still occurred.
Maybe.
No, no,
Without
no.
language,
That's
there's
not
no
saying
way
a
to actually say
maybe.
that anything happened.
That's not a maybe.
It is a maybe.
No, just because you can't communicate something doesn't mean it didn't happen.
In order for you to say that it happened, you need to be able to communicate. Within world A, there's no way
Right.
to know that
No,
anything
no.
happened.
So
Things can
Language is what
happen whether they
instantiates all
get
of this.
communicated or not.
I
Not
gotta.
meaningfully.
So let's look. Let's discuss this. So
Oh, this guy.
so guys, hold on. So now the life on Earth only existed about 4.5 billion years ago. Humanity only existed about what 3 million years ago, right? So, but there's a lot of history in the universe far prior to that, right? Now, like the Big Bang, right? 13.8 billion years ago. Now, there was nobody around to describe those things, right?
Sorry, what was that?
So, prior to consciousness arriving in the universe,
Uh-huh.
there was things happening, like during the Big Bang, right? The universe exploded. It was really hot. It cooled down.
Yeah.
Atoms were forming. All that. So there was things happening, even though there was no descriptions of it.
I mean,
You
it
would-
certainly seems that way, yeah, but without
Right,
language,
but-
there would be no way to meaningfully communicate this.
Okay, right. But now, for as a realist, I'm not concerned about whether or not I can meaningfully communicate it. I'm only concerned about whether or not it's real.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem.
Okay.
The problem is that you're not concerned about whether or not you can meaningfully communicate something, and that's
Well-
how you have been bewitched.
Well, so I mean, as that's the okay. Let me be more specific. Like,
Sure.
I am concerned about meaningfully communicating it, but as a realist, that is not the concern. If it's real, then then you're realist, right? Now, after we've established that it's real, now we can describe it, because it seems like if we were to say that, it seems like your position would almost imply that without descriptions there would be no things.
There would be no things that we could meaningfully communicate about. Correct.
Okay, but the things would still be, right?
Maybe, but we would have no way of communicating this.
Right. Okay, but so, like, let's think about like for example, like my motto of moral realism,
Sure. Well,
right? Even
sure.
if so, like, my motto of moral realism is, it was like what, 3, 4, 5 years old, right?
Okay.
So like I was, before then I was a Christian. I didn't really put a lot of thought into morality. Like
Well, you can't put thought into morality as a Christian. That's an oxymoron.
fair enough. Yeah, we agree there.
Yeah.
We agree there, right? So like the divine command theory, that's kind of like
Sure.
what I was. All right. So, however, according that model is able to describe things that exist prior to the model existing.
Yeah. I mean, linguistic models can like backdate things. Sure. We can label things in retrospect. Absolutely.
Right. So, but now, even if I never existed and the model never existed,
Yeah.
then the things that the model would have described would have still been.
I mean, maybe. I don't know that this does anything for you.
Well, to me that gives me my position. That gives me moral realism, because like when I say like when I describe morality, I'm not saying the description of morality exists. I'm saying morality exists.
Okay, that's where I get off the train. I would say that that statement is nonsensical. Morality can't exist. It's a linguistic thing.
Okay, so all right, so now when I say like if I harm you, I'm endangering your health,
Sure.
right? So that would be true. And let's try to think about it without words. Let's just say you're just standing there and I come up and I stab you and now you're bleeding,
Yeah.
right? So that thing when I say immoral,
Sure.
that I am describing that.
Yeah,
And
but
that
only
is
because
real.
that's how you've defined it. You've chosen to define it that way.
Right. So and that's what I'm saying. So the things
Yeah.
I'm defining, the definitions are separate from the things that the definitions are describing.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is different from the chicken wire you wrap around the thing. Absolutely. Sure.
Right. But so the chicken wire doesn't exist, but the thing does.
The chicken wire exists. The thing that the chicken wire Okay, so once you remove the rock from the chicken wire and all you have left is the chicken wire, you notice that the three-dimensional form that it has taken is now vacuous, right? There's nothing in it. It's just the wire frame of the rock, right?
Okay, so you said once I removed the chicken wire.
Once you remove the rock from the chicken wire. So imagine that you sort of pry
Okay,
some of the chicken wire so you can
now
take the rock out of it.
And the chicken wire represents the words, right?
The chicken wire is the
But
specific
now-
is the word rock. suppose.
Right. So, right. So
Yeah.
now
Or rather,
so
that's the label you slap on it. But yeah.
right. So now so to get out of your analogy and bring it back to the thing that we're actually talking about.
Sure.
If you were to just have words that are descriptions of things that don't exist, then sure, I'd agree with you. Right? We could do that all day. Like we have descriptions of things that don't exist. Well, I can tell you
Right.
a leprechaun, a dragon,
Sure.
a unicorn. You know what all of those things are, and you could
Yep.
draw one for me despite them not existing.
Yep.
Right? So like in that sense, sure. Like if you separate the thing from the description and all you have left now is the description, now that position kind of makes
Well,
sense.
you have to separate the thing from the description in order to use the description. You can't
Well-
haul around the rock inside the chicken wire.
Right. So what I mean by separate, I'm talking about like you just get rid of, like if you say you got rid of the rock and all you have is the chicken wire. If you get rid of reality and all you have are descriptions of reality,
Yeah.
well then yeah, then I get nothing exists then, right? The descriptions don't exist because there's no reality. Like I
Yeah,
would
I
agree.
mean,
I
sure.
can concede that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I would say that again, so like leprechauns aren't real in the same way that morality isn't real.
So
Like it has no correspondence with reality. There has never been a thing called a leprechaun.
okay, so with a leprechaun, yeah, we're describing something that doesn't exist. When I say morality, I am describing something that exists, like your well-being. Like versus, and those are things you can experience. You can experience being healthy. You can experience being happy.
Again, only because you have defined them as such, which is why I have to push back when you say that you're a moral realist, because you're clearly not. You don't think that moral facts exist in reality. You think that moral statements can be simply spoken into existence.
No, I'm not speaking moral statements in like what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I am describing facts of reality. So I'm not speaking in it. Like I'm not saying like it's not like a leprechaun morphs into being because I said it, right? And not saying like morality morphs into being just because I said it.
But I mean, but that's what you're doing, right? So in the act of stabbing, and then you're saying this harms your well-being, you have spoken a moral fact into existence. Because you have defined morality and attached it to this thing that you call well-being, that's essentially what you are doing. You are speaking a moral fact into existence. And that's fine. You're allowed to do that, but you have to recognize that that's what you're doing.
I don't see how I'm speaking a moral fact into existence because like what I'm concerned about like is like well-being, right? And I could just say a thing. Like
Sure.
it'd be hard to say it. I can't say it without using words.
No. So
but when I say well-being, I'm not talking about the label well-being. I'm talking about a state of affairs that actually exists.
I understand that. So you have tied your moral system to this thing that you call well-being. And for the purposes of argument, we can agree that well-being is a thing that can actually exist, right?
But
Until
you experience it.
Sure. For the purpose of argument, sure. So when you stab me, nothing has happened, right? But then when you say the fact that I have stabbed you has harmed your well-being, hold on.
A lot has happened. If I stab you, a lot has happened.
Nothing has happened morally until you say this stabbing hurts your well-being. In that moment, that is when the moral fact is spoken into existence from within your framework. You have declared that this action harms your well-being.
Let me go down a road here.
Sure.
If, for the sake of argument, let's say you agree to AAA's moral definition that harming your well-being is immoral.
Sure.
Okay? By nature of harming that well-being, what do you get?
What do I get?
Yep. What is the outcome? Is it a moral thing, a immoral thing, or a amoral thing?
Oh, well, I mean, because Triboulet has defined the moral system as being dependent on this quality we call well-being, then yeah, what has happened is an immoral thing, sure.
Okay, so definitionally, if we have something that we can communicate effectively and about, and we agree upon a definition, and we say that definition being morality is something that is intentionally negative to someone else's well-being, and then you stab someone, whether you say anything more about it, you are able to determine whether it is moral or immoral based on the state of affairs that will become that person, that will take place after that person is stabbed.
Yes, but only because you have defined your moral system to be contingent on this well-being thing.
But that doesn't take anything away from it.
No, it just collapses it into language.
Well, no, because it's the actions themselves. The language is how we're describing them.
Correct, and it's the descriptions that I care about.
Okay,
the
so
descriptions
it
are what
sounds
make
to
an
me like
action moral
you're
or
almost
immoral.
a non-physicalist and you only care about descriptors.
Well, the descriptors are what make an action immoral or immoral.
No. The descriptors are just that. They're describing the action. They don't make it immoral.
They are describing the actions as moral or immoral.
Nope, they're describing the actions. If the actions themselves lead to something that is immoral, for instance, if my actions, which cause harm to someone else, which that causes detriment to their well-being,
which is the definition of your moral system.
Yes,
right.
Those actions are therefore immoral.
As immoral. Yeah, they are defined as immoral.
Yes,
within your moral system.
Correct.
So without that definition, nothing moral has happened. Nothing immoral.
Yeah. So if you disagree with the definition, then you don't agree with the definition. That's a tautology, right? I mean, that's just the way that words work.
Sure. I mean, moral systems are declaratory things. Like, you can just build an ethical system and define it however you want. Like, I don't understand what your point is.
Well, what I'm saying is that you're essentially arguing that if we agree upon a definition, then everything is fine.
So long as you understand that what you have done is a linguistic operation, everything is fine.
Only in the sense that we're using linguistics and language to describe the things that are being...
And to define them within a system of morals that you have also defined linguistically.
Well, I mean, like, in order to have meaningful conversation, you have to have definitions.
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
and those definitions only exist
linguistically. You think that's problematic, though? You said
no,
that
I think that you carrying this idea that it exists anywhere outside of linguistics is the problem. Right? So when you say that the action is immoral before you communicate that it is immoral...
But the actions exist outside of linguistics.
Yes,
me stabbing you doesn't have to be described.
Yes, but only because you have already pre-described specific actions as moral or immoral, depending on their outcomes.
That is definitionally how we're using morality.
Correct. But it's a linguistic operation.
The thing we're describing, though, the action itself is a actual physical thing.
Yeah, sure, but that actual physical thing is neither moral nor immoral
Right,
until
but
you apply that definition.
Sure, but that's why I asked for the purpose of the argument, like
Yeah.
at least in this portion. Are we, sorry,
Oop,
drop
no,
something.
it's fine.
Are we willing to, I guess, temporarily accept the definition of morality, right?
Yeah,
And
I can
so,
accept the definition, but so long as you accept that the definition does not predate the action.
but like, I'm not saying it would necessarily predate the action. I'm saying that, like, by accepting the definition, you would come to the you would come to the same conclusion,
Correct.
which is how we essentially develop language to where it is now.
Correct. We developed things like morality for linguistic purposes. Absolutely. We had linguistic need for morality,
We didn't.
so we
We
developed
didn't
a
have a
language that had
linguistic
moral...
need for morality.
We absolutely did. How else
No.
do you communicate whether a thing is right or wrong?
Okay, like, I mean, that's going to get into a deeper philosophical argument about what is right and
No,
wrong.
let's please not do that. I don't want to get any further into this fly bottle. It's very dangerous in here. And it already hurts to be here.
If by definition, like, how do you define something as dangerous?
Whether or not it does philosophy.
Okay, and again, how do you define philosophy?
Philosophy is the bewitchment of the mind by language.
And where did you get that definition?
I stole it from Wittgenstein.
Okay, and where do you think he got it from?
His terrible, troubled mind.
Okay, and why do you believe it to be true?
Because it describes things that I see.
Okay, and if I describe something that I see currently, does that make it true?
No.
Okay, so you're sounds like to me you're stuck.
Nope. Well, I mean, yes, I'm stuck in this room because you won't walk out with me. But sure.
Well, no,
Again,
it sounds to me.
I'm wearing a hazmat suit and you're not.
Again, sounds to me like you're trying to use the thing to argue the thing to argue
Yes.
the thing.
Yes, correct.
That is the thing that you are using.
Correct.
And you want to use this thing.
Yep. Well, I want to use language. I don't want to use philosophy.
I guess because you have a different fundamental definition of philosophy. If I said I don't want to use poison to drink, I'd agree with you. But when you define philosophy as a bewitchment of the mind, that's a pretty niche definition that most people don't accept or understand.
Yes, but that's because most people are sick and so therefore do not want to take the pill.
Okay, but if I describe, for instance, a horse as a six-legged fuzzy creature about 2 inches tall, would you accept my definition?
Yeah, why not?
Because every other person on this planet has agreed that a horse is a four-legged mammal?
Does that make your definition incorrect or just not useful?
Well, it means that if I describe it as such, that we're not going to have effective communications. If I tell you,
it's not untrue. It's just not useful, right?
Well, I'm saying, like, it wouldn't be. Not only would it be counterproductive, but it would also be untrue to how you understand, like a horse itself.
I mean, only if I have a preconceived notion of what a horse is. Suppose
that is the whole purpose of a descriptor in language itself, is for us to describe things.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so if we want to have a mutual definition on something, that would be helpful before you move forward with a conversation, right?
Sure.
So if you describe philosophy as some satanic evil from God himself, that he created this demonic being to entrap people in sin and now they're going to be cast into hell because they believe philosophy, I have no good reason to believe that.
Yeah, correct.
And I don't have any good reason to believe that philosophy, by your definition, a bewitchment of the mind, is true either.
Correct, but I'm not trying to convince you of anything.
Right. So, nor would I necessarily need to accept your definition.
No, you don't have to. I'm trying to show you the way out of the fly bottle. If you don't want to get out of the fly bottle, that's on you.
But what you're doing is saying that I'm in a fly bottle. What I'm asking you to do is tell me, like, prove to me that I'm in a fly bottle.
Yeah, so the requirement for proof is a conceptual object that has no correspondence with anything in reality. And also you've smuggled that into the conversation. I don't need to prove anything to you.
If you would like to convince me that I'm in a fly bottle, it would be best.
I'm not trying to convince you that you're in a fly bottle. I'm showing you that you're in a fly bottle. Very different.
You cannot show me something
I absolutely
that
can.
does not exist.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so show me the fly bottle.
Yeah, the fly
You-
bottle is philosophy.
But that's just how you're defining it.
Correct.
So
So I reject that by saying I don't define philosophy as a fly bottle.
Okay. You can
Now
do that.
what?
That's a valid move. You again notice I'm wearing a hazmat suit and you're not. If you want to continue holding this uranium,
Okay, but
you
it's
can.
like by like what you're doing is fundamentally just saying I know something you don't know, right? And if you don't believe this thing, you're a moron. And I'm wearing Superman pajamas. That means I can fly.
Hold on. Did I call you a moron?
No, but by like what you're doing is saying saying I'm wearing a hazmat suit. What you're saying is that by definition I'm poisoned and I'm already
Well, okay,
beyond
sure,
recover, right?
No. To be sure, we are both infected. I have some amount of protection because I have the realization that this is
Okay.
a linguistic thing, so I can catch myself when I go too far into it. You
That-
are not.
I don't
wearing a
think you
hazmat
understand
suit.
how hazmat suits work.
Yeah, hazmat suits protect you from some radiation, but not all radiation. Some radiation can penetrate many layers of clothing and,
Okay.
and solid objects.
Yeah, I still don't think you understand how hazmat suits work.
Well, it's an analogy. It's not, a perfect construction.
Okay, but I don't think you understand how hazmat suits work.
Okay, well maybe I don't.
Okay, but I don't think you understand how hazmat suits work.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah,
How do you understand it?
I just do.
Okay, so again, we're back to just definitionally playing word games. Like there's
Yes, correct. This is all a language game.
So, all right. So when you said, what did you say? Philosophy is the band.
it's the bewitchment.
It's the bewitchment of the mind by language.
Okay. So now, let me describe something else.
Sure.
The systematic, rational study of fundamental questions regarding existence, knowledge, reason, and values.
Yeah.
What word do you use for that?
Nothing. That entire statement is nonsensical.
Well, I mean, I understood it.
I think you
I
believe
also-
yourself to have understood it, but you'll notice that none of the words in that statement have any correspondence with reality.
Well, what do you mean? So the existence,
Yeah,
like things exist, right?
maybe, but existence in and of itself has
No,
correspondence
something
to
not
reality.
maybe. Something definitely exists.
Maybe.
There's not a maybe.
I think there is, and I think that epistemic humility is important. We're kind of biologically locked in.
But
We
how
don't have
could you
perfect access
how
to
could you
exterior
dial?
reality.
All right, so you know like the Kagito, yeah, I think therefore I am.
Yeah, sure.
Right, so like in that same vein that he proved he exists, he proved there was a reality. Because in order for him to exist, there must be a reality for him to exist.
I don't think Descartes
So-
proved anything. He just said some words.
What
and
he
people
did
found-
was
found them-
his if he didn't exist, that would be a contradiction. You can't doubt your existence.
Notice
I mean,
that
you can doubt-
contradictions
but
only
you can't-
exist in
like,
language. They don't
You
actually
can't
exist
be
in the real
wrong
world.
about existing.
You can be wrong about a lot of things, man.
But
I
you
don't
know,
what
but you
you're talking
can't
about.
you can't be wrong about existing though.
I'm almost sure you can be. Yeah. Plenty of people
Kim.
believe that they don't exist.
No. But if you believe you exist, you
Yeah.
cannot be wrong.
I mean, I guess only as a feature of language.
No.
Yeah.
If
because
you're wrong,
wrongness and
there's a
existence
you.
are defined within language.
If I say you're wrong,
Yeah.
I'm saying you exist. You have to exist in order to be wrong. So you cannot be wrong about your existence.
I don't
So the
think
fact
that
that you
follows.
haven't any experience right now is definitive proof that there is a reality. There has
Yeah,
to be.
I don't think that any of that follows actually.
Okay, could you explain the breaking logic? How could there not be a reality?
Okay, so I don't think this is a question of whether or not there is a reality. I think we need to ground our epistemics here by acknowledging that we do not have perfect access to exterior reality. We only receive sensory
that's
data
irrelevant.
through.
I didn't say
No,
we
it
have
is
perfect access.
relevant, right?
It's
It
it's
is
not
not.
relevant. If
It is
even
not.
even if reality exists solely externally, it is a some form of reality.
You do not have to know the
Whether we
nature.
experience it, whether we can describe it, if anything exists at all, that is reality.
I mean, that's what we call it. Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
That's
that
the
is the
label that we slap on
descriptor
it.
we're using, but it is not the thing. Just like you're describing a chair, you're not describing chairness.
So
The chair
Sure.
exists, and the descriptors we're using are how you and I are able to effectively communicate about it.
Yeah. Sure.
So a reality definitely exists. And we're trying to use words now to effectively communicate about that reality.
Okay.
Whether we're able to do so or not particularly relevant.
so the reason why I went to existence was because I would have thought you would agree that existence is, like, I almost said existence exists, right? But I didn't want to describe it with the same word. But existence is, there is a reality, and so that term right there, which is part of the definition of philosophy that I have up here on Google, like those things are real. So
I mean, I take
it's
it
not
as a brute
nonsense.
fact,
I
but I
understood.
don't know that this is a thing that can actually be confirmed outside of linguistics.
What part? What?
Existence, like I locally experience something that we might call reality, but I don't know that this means anything outside of linguistics.
It doesn't have to mean anything. Like meaning that is all subjective, but
Correct. Correct.
the existence is not. If you're
Uh,
experiencing anything, there is somewhere that there's a you somewhere, and which also means there is a reality somewhere, because there has to be a reality that you are real in, even if
I'm
it's
gonna give
just
you a hard probably on that one. I'm gonna give you a hard probably.
I don't see how we okay, but would you agree that something, if we could prove that, if we could show that the negation of something would result in a contradiction, wouldn't that be definitive proof?
Contradictions only exist within language. They don't exist outside of language. So I don't know what that does to for you.
So no, that, so that's the point, right? Contradictions do not exist. So if the negation of one thing would result in a contradiction, then it has to be true. So if there was
only
no
because you
real,
have hold on, only because our language is set up in that way.
no, that because this
Yes.
is logic. No. This
Yeah,
has
but
nothing
our
to do with
language is set up in such a way so
No,
that we can use logic. Logic is a
no.
linguistic construction.
No, well, sure. Logic is a description of reality, and what I'm
No,
saying is, if there
no,
was
no, no,
a,
no, no, no,
a
no,
lack
no.
of so when I say I'm sorry, the logical absolutes
Yeah.
are descriptions of reality.
No,
Now,
they're linguistic constructions that we use. They're not. They don't.
so when
A
I
is
say
not A is not. Or sorry, A cannot be not A is not a thing that we observed in reality. It's a linguistic tool
No,
that we put
that's
into our
bro,
language in order to
A
describe things.
so A isn't non-A.
Yeah.
That so you don't experience that because that is a description. What you experience
No, it's a
is
prescription.
reality.
It's one of the few prescriptions that we need
It's
in
not
order
a prescription.
for.
It is just a description.
No.
So if you, the A
Sorry.
the consider the law of non-contradiction.
Sure.
A is not
Not
non-A.
Uh-huh.
That is descriptive. I am
No.
telling you what A isn't.
No. So
What do you
the law of non-contradiction is a tool that is baked into our language. It is a thing that we invented in order to describe things in reality.
We
the law
invented
of
the
non-con-
description, but we didn't invent the thing.
Well, it doesn't refer to a thing. It's philosophy.
It
It's
is
factors.
the description of the phenomena. Things are what they are, and they cannot be what they
Only
are.
because we describe them that way.
No.
Yes.
No, like
But
that is
give-
an actuality. All you're doing is changing the description. Like let's go back to your cube option, right?
Sure.
Your cube scenario, right? You say there's this radioactive 6x6 solid metal cube that's highly enriched uranium, right?
Yes.
If I describe it as a pink fuzzy unicorn, does that change the object?
It changes the way that you talk about it.
That doesn't change
not
the
what it is.
object. That's
Correct.
not the question I asked.
Correct.
So what you did was change the description.
Correct.
Language is the description. But that object, no matter how you want to define it, is still that object.
Only
A
because you
is
have
still
defined it
A.
as such. Only because you have defined it as such.
If we have any, like, no, that thing is still A. It doesn't
Okay,
check. It doesn't matter how I describe it.
Let me paint you a different picture. Suppose that we used a language that defined objects as the collection of all like things, right? So suppose that in this language, uranium doesn't refer to this specific mass of uranium, but it refers to all available uranium on Earth. In that sense, if we change the description of the cube, we would not be able to talk about the cube anymore. Does that make sense?
Depends. That depends. Does it contain any part of uranium?
But it's not all uranium. And so because you have changed the rules under which your language
So
operates,
then
the linguistic
you
necessities, we
wouldn't
no longer have a cube.
describe it in the same way, but the object wouldn't be any less of that object.
It would not be definable as an object. You would not be able to
Sure,
talk about
you just
that
use
cube. Hold on.
Sure,
would
you
not be
just
able
use
to
a
talk about
different
that
definition.
cube. Hold on. You would not be able to talk about that cube separate from all other available uranium on Earth because your language has priorities that require you to talk about all uranium on Earth at once.
Right, but all you've done is said that you're limiting the description of that object. You're not changing the object itself.
I'm saying that the way that we communicate about the object is defined within language.
Of course, that is by what definitions and descriptors are.
Yes.
But it doesn't change the object itself. And that's the whole point. When we say A is A, we're not just defining A as A and saying it has to be this way. What we're doing is we're giving a label to something, and we're saying that's what this thing is. This cube, we're going to call it A, right? And if you want to talk about the collection of uranium, all of uranium, by the way, that can't be A unless this cube is all the uranium that ever existed.
Right, but notice that our language is built specifically to talk about discrete objects and not about collections of things.
But that's
right?
not always the case. If you've studied linguistics, there are languages that don't have like
Correct.
specific like numbers and beyond like a collective.
Sure, and in those languages we might see different logical tools develop, right? Because those languages have different priorities and different aims.
But the absolute laws of logic which define reality still exist and hold true. No matter what.
No, they're axiomatic. They exist because we want them and need them to exist.
No, that's incorrect. They're descriptors of reality itself.
No, sorry.
Yes, you don't have to apologize for me being correct.
That's a great one. I think I'm going to steal that one.
Thanks.
That's a good one. That's a good
Thanks.
line.
You're welcome. No problem.
Yeah.
You're free to use that anytime you'd like.
Yeah. No. Sorry. So the law.
So what you're saying,
identity, like these things are linguistic constructions. They don't exist in reality.
The definitions are linguistic and like our linguistic constructions. I don't disagree with that. The words we're using
is the description. What do you mean? The law of identity is the description.
Reality. Let's just go back to reality.
Sure.
Some form of reality exists, correct?
Probably.
I mean, I don't see how that is impossible to say otherwise, right?
Tim, you said contradictions don't exist.
They don't exist in reality.
Right,
they exist
if there was
language.
no reality, that would be a contradiction, which can exist.
Only because contradictions are defined within language. And this
is why I didn't want to go back down that circle. I wanted to go down this circle. Reality probably, for your sake, exists.
Yes.
Okay? No matter what that is, it undoubtedly probably exists.
Sure.
Now, if I can give you any descriptor of that reality, all I've done is given you specific information, correct?
Maybe.
And I'm not trying to define all of reality, and I'm not trying to define everything about it. I'm trying to give you information and potentially as much information as you're willing to listen to, right?
Sure.
Or as much information as necessary to carry on a conversation.
Sure.
Okay. But no matter what, no matter how it's described, no matter how good or bad a job I do at it, and no matter how good I am at perceiving it or experiencing it or anything else, it exists, correct? Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, then let's call reality A.
Okay.
A is always going to be A, no matter how good I am at describing it. No matter how.
Only because the language that you are using to
No,
talk about
no.
has
Hold up.
rules that say that A must be not A. Or sorry, A must not be not A.
Nope. By the fundamental nature of something being itself, reality is reality no matter what descriptor you put upon it. This object.
Your ability to perceive
Do you
reality.
can I? I'm not trying to be rude, and I swear I'm
Yeah.
not calling you ignorant here. I promise. I'm just genuine question.
Go ahead.
Do you know why in the three logical absolutes we use the term A is equal to A? A cannot be not A, and A.
No,
and
actually,
both.
I don't. Why don't you enlighten me?
Okay, it's because they're a substitute for anything in the whole universe, anything in all of reality.
Sure.
We're not describing anything specific
Okay.
when we say A is A.
Sure.
We're just putting in a filler. You could easily use banana, but because you have a preconceived notion of what banana is, the same problem can be said for A because, you speak English and
Sure.
you know your alphabet, right? But what we're doing is we're putting in a substitute that can literally mean anything in the world.
Yeah.
But we're saying this specific thing, this one specific thing, A, is always going to be that one specific thing.
Yes.
And if you were to take it and tear it apart and turn it into something else, it's no longer the thing that you were describing.
Sure.
So
only because the language that you are using to talk about it requires
no. The descriptors are going to change. The object itself is always going to be.
Your ability to identify the object as a discrete thing is embedded within your language. You can only do this because your language allows you.
My ability to describe it is embedded in language.
No,
the
your
object
ability to identify it is embedded within your language.
No, that exists in logic. I kind of take credence with that, but I will say, like, no matter my abilities and no matter my linguistic prowess, that object reality exists.
Okay, so I think we're trapped in on this. So
let's do it like your cube object. I like it as a cube. The cube is great, right?
Your language.
Let's pretend that cube is representative of reality.
Sure, the cube is A. Right?
Okay, yeah, sure. The cube is A. No matter how you describe that cube, or whether you describe everything else in the world but that cube cube is always the cube. The cube is always A.
Only because your language allows you to identify it as a discrete object.
That's incorrect. The cube exists as it is, no matter how good or bad I am at describing it.
It's not about whether you're good or bad at describing it. It's that your language, the language that you use, provides you linguistic tools to identify this object and then describe it and communicate about it.
No. My senses help me identify the object. My description and my language help me define and describe the object.
We're going to stop right there, and I want you to disconnect your sensory inputs from your linguistic... No, stop. From your linguistic capacity.
That is impossible.
No, it's not impossible, and that's
it is impossible.
It is not impossible. Plenty of animals have sensory inputs. None of them are able to communicate about objects.
Incorrect. There are hundreds of millions of animals capable of basic communication. Just because theirs isn't as complex as ours doesn't mean they don't have communication.
I'm going to amend that statement. So,
that is a fundamentally incorrect thing.
Plenty of animals have sensory input.
Mm-hmm.
We have not observed any of them using language in order to describe their sensory inputs.
Incorrect. We have.
Name which one?
Sure. I can give you examples of dolphin. I can give any mammal capable of experiencing pain.
No. Whoa. Use of language is very different from sensory experiences. I know that dolphins can feel pain. I know that dolphins can communicate with each other. But dolphins do not
Did
use
you know they can
language.
did you know they can groan? They can quince?
Sure.
Did you know that when we apply particular stimulus that they have very similar reactions? Did
Yeah,
you know
but
they're
they don't have
capable
a
of
theory of mind. They
did
don't
you know
have
that did you
language.
know that dolphins are capable of communicating where they are to other
They can
dolphins by
communicate lots of
echolocation?
things, but they don't have language and they don't
That
have a
that
theory of mind.
language is the ability to communicate with
No,
others.
language is so much more than just the ability to communicate.
No,
And
no, that's an
I would be very
expansion of
careful. Oh, no,
language.
it's not. I would
Yes,
be
it
very
is.
no, it's not. Language
It
is
is indeed. Do you think language needs to be written?
I think language needs to require a theory of mind.
And by that you mean someone capable of expressing something?
It's more than just expression. Listen. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a linguist. These are concepts that I'm reaching for that are actually outside of my
Have you
wheelhouse.
studied linguistics at all? Because I
No,
have.
I'm a
Fun
layman.
facts. Yeah, fun.
I'm a double dropout layman with nothing more than an internet connection and a curiosity for the world around him.
Maybe it would help if you studied language more before you go on to
Yeah,
this
but that would make me,
tirade
that would
of
require me to do philosophy, and I don't want to do that.
I mean,
'Cause it
only
hurts.
by your definition of philosophy.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe you should just redefine philosophy and make it something enjoyable for yourself.
Yeah, but then I
Because
would be
you're the
hurting
only one it
myself
seems to
and
matter
not
to,
able
right?
to know that I'm hurting myself, which is not something I want to do.
I've read
But
you Google.
if you define it as something that not only doesn't harm you but makes you better, then why wouldn't you just do that?
Yeah, I can define radiation sickness as beneficial for my heart health, but it doesn't mean
And
it's going to stop killing me.
how would you determine that?
What?
How would you determine that radiation sickness is bad for you?
Oh, through language.
No.
That's how you would describe it.
That's how
would
you
you
describe it.
No, that's how I would be able to identify it. Language is more than
No,
just
no,
being able to
no,
communicate ideas externally,
No,
dude.
no,
It
no,
no, no.
it affects your cognition.
Language is gonna go up here. How would you determine that radiation is bad for your health?
Through language.
Nope, that is how you would describe radiation sickness,
It's
and maybe
more-
even the effects.
Again,
You need
language is
science.
more than the ability to communicate. A lot of linguistic stuff happens without you even talking. First of all.
I mean,
You
yes.
don't have to
I mean,
talk to
we,
be
we have
engaged in
we have
language.
written
Okay.
language. We have
No.
like
You
verbal
don't have
cues.
to communicate anything to anyone through any medium in order to be engaged in language. Let's get that clear. Language happens in your
I
brain.
disagree.
So when you say language, are you talking about like things like science? Like
No, I'm talking about
'cause science
specific
is how
areas
you
of
would
human
determine.
cognition. Like this is why animals don't have language in the formal sense, because we do not see the same cognitive effects that we notice in humans in like dolphins. Language happens in your mind. It doesn't happen necessarily in your mouth.
Okay, but right. So, but okay, now I'm curious about this radiation sickness thing.
Sure.
And you're saying language would determine that. Language would allow you to discover that radiation is bad for you,
Yes.
or high frequency radiation.
Yes.
Okay, walk me through the process of how language determines that.
Sure. I mean, you need a linguistic term for radiation, which means you need a linguistic term for specific particulate matter behaving in a particular way.
No,
Like a dog would not be able to know that it is
No,
being
so-
made.
but like I could theoretically.
A dog might not know, but it could still suffer the effects of radiation poisoning.
Yeah, but it wouldn't know that it is sick.
So high frequency
Doesn't matter. It still suffers the consequences.
But the consequences are not what we're talking about. You asked me, how would you know that you were being affected by radiation sickness?
And it's
I said
not
through
so
language.
you could have a person by himself, right? Theoretically,
Sure.
he's super smart. He has all this equipment, right? And so like how like high frequency radiation, what it does, like it ionizes your atoms,
Sure.
right? And
Tears
so
apart
like
your DNA.
it is like at a it's going at a lower level than that.
Oh.
Right. So like your proton, the proton has electrons that are bound to it, right? And they're going around it, roughly
Sure.
orbiting it, right? And what's holding the electron to the nucleus are photons. And high frequency photons, which is radiation, have a lot of energy. And if they interact with that atom, it's going to interact with the photons that's holding the electron.
Okay.
And electrons are going to fly off. And now your atoms, and now that atom is going to have a charge.
Right.
right? A positive or negative charge, and other things are going to start happening in your body,
Sure.
right? That's what can cause cancers.
Yeah.
Now, I don't need a language to describe any of those things. I see, hey, I see this thing, and it's this thing going around it, and it's being held by this other thing. And when this other thing hits it, it flies off, and then I get sick. Right? I don't need language. That was science.
I find it really interesting that you said I don't need language to describe this, and then you described.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to describe it. I'm sorry. I don't need language to realize that this thing is hurting me. The language will be
I would
how
say
I
that you
describe
actually
it to
do.
somebody else.
You need linguistic capacity as a part of your cognition in order to talk about or think about any of these things.
But no. I'm not talking about. I'm not saying talking about it.
Okay, to think about it, to realize it, to come to knowledge, you need language.
I don't have to have a word for the thing.
You actually do.
Like, I don't know. I don't.
You need to have a cognitive concept of it.
What I know is that I know the electron, the amount of protons and electrons need to match, or else you're going to have an ionized atom inside of it.
Yeah, and all of that is defined.
I don't need words. I don't need words for any of those.
This is a silly one, but just for fun.
Sure.
Do you think that 2 days ago existed? Do you think 2 days ago happened?
Probably.
Do you know the word for 2 days ago? There's a specific word, not a group of words. There's a specific word for 2 days ago.
Would it be yestermorrow?
Aftermorrow, right?
Aftermorrow. Excuse me.
See, here's the thing. All I've done to you is just demonstrate that your lack of an understanding of a particular term doesn't limit your ability to understand and perceive 2 days ago.
It affects my ability to name it as a discrete object.
Nope. You could just say 2 days ago. You just used a different word.
Yeah, but hold on.
You even made up your own word.
Hold on.
And we could have accepted that as a definition of 2 days ago.
Hold on, because you said not a collection of words, a discrete word. And
yeah, I intentionally led you down this road with the intent of I assumed you wouldn't know the word aftermorrow.
Right.
Right?
But now
and
you have given me a conceptual object that I can use to describe that thing that I didn't have before.
Nope, I've given you a word to describe something that happened.
Object. Correct, a conceptual object. You have given me a new wireframe that I can use to describe that thing.
Right, but I didn't implement the concept itself. The thing that I'm describing definitely already happened, and you already knew what it was.
Here's what you did.
All I've done is given you a more succinct, singular way of describing it.
You described the shape of the chicken wire shape, and then revealed that you had actually a thing in that shape.
But the thing you already knew existed.
Not as a discrete concept.
Yes, you knew it existed.
Until you said aftermorrow, I didn't have...
You made up a word, and we could have accepted that as the definition, and we would have been fine with it.
And prior to that, it didn't exist. At least not within my brain.
Yeah, but that's just your limitation to a definition.
That's language.
But you didn't know that word.
Yeah.
But the thing that he was talking about,
the concept you knew.
Okay,
you knew that was a thing.
You proposed to me, hey, do you think I could wrap this wrap chicken wire in this particular shape? And I said, yeah, probably. And then you were like, well, look, I actually did it. Here's that wireframe.
Right, except the
thing
before
you asked me the question,
I proposed that you can wrap chicken wire into is a thing that actually exists, whether you can wrap chicken wire around it or not.
Well, I mean, so like yesterday doesn't exist necessarily. It's a linguistic thing, you know?
Again, you're just confusing the concept of a definition with the thing itself.
Yeah, I think
that's the reason I chose this word and I chose that concept. Right?
Sure.
So, like, for instance, do you know any other languages?
I do, actually.
Okay, what languages do you know?
I know Spanish. It's my first language.
Great. Spanish. So I know a handful of words in Spanish, but if you said a word to me in Spanish and said, this is what that word means, I would take it on good faith that you're telling me that the word means something that is agreed upon by humanity that word means. But I bet you money that it is very likely, no matter the word you choose in Spanish, I will have a conceptualization of it in English. And therefore, the concept in Spanish already exists, and I can describe it in English.
Yeah, sure. You could have similar or identical chicken wire models. Yeah, why not?
Great. So what you're doing is you're saying that language is a way to for us to communicate it. It doesn't define the object. Like it's not like fundamental to the object itself. It's fundamental to the description of the object. For you and I to have a good conversation in Spanish, I would need a better grasp of Spanish.
Yeah.
For you and I to have a good conversation about this cube, 6x6 cube, we
Sure.
need descriptors that we can agree upon. But that doesn't
But
take away
before that, before
that doesn't
being
take away the
able-
cube.
Hold on. Before you have any need for descriptors, you have a linguistic need for identification. You need to have a language that allows you to identify discrete objects in space.
You need a way to identify it, and the language is how to describe it.
No, the language does far more to your cognition than just allow you to describe things, dude. This is what I'm talking about. Like, you
So,
don't
by
have
that-
to speak,
but that-
you don't have
that-
to write,
that
you don't have
causes-
to do anything. You don't
So
have to
Tim-
engage in any
Tim,
medium
that-
in order
that-
to engage in language.
That causes a bigger problem. Do you think that, like, any animal outside of humans are capable of determining a basketball from food?
No, not meaningfully. Not that I have seen. There are a couple of
So they're
species
all
on the
just
planet that are
starving to
pretty
death
close.
because they're eating basketballs and not getting the nutritional value they need?
Let me ask you a side question. Fasad, have you ever had any pets?
Yeah, I have a dog now.
Okay, have you ever seen the dog eat something that is clearly not food?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that's my answer to your question.
Okay, so you think that if they're continue eating things that are not quote unquote food, they will continue to live?
No, what I'm saying is that the dog clearly doesn't have a concept of food.
They undoubtedly have a concept of food.
No, because they confuse things that are food and are not food all the time.
I confuse things that are definitions for things that are for all the time. That doesn't make me any less of a person.
Right, you can get something confused, but that doesn't mean like just because I falsely identify something. Like I don't know a whole lot about animals, and I might falsely identify something as a fish, right? Maybe I think a dolphin is a fish. That doesn't mean I don't know what a fish is.
I actually would say that you probably don't know what a fish is. According to the rules of the language that you're using, if you're confusing a dolphin as a fish, you
No, because
probably
there's
don't know what a
tons
fish
of
is.
things. There are tons of things that, like, matter of fact, the fact that I think that a dolphin is a fish is evidence that I have a really good concept of a fish. Because a dolphin has a lot of the same characteristics as a fish, especially on the outside. Like it's in the water, it has fins and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of things like a car, an airplane, a moon. Like I would never think as a fish. So obviously I do have a concept of that.
Clearly not. If you don't know that a dolphin is not a fish, because the one defining thing that would make a fish is gills,
No,
right?
by
And the
your-
ability to breathe underwater.
But by your definition, in order to have a concept of something, you need to have a full and complete understanding with no
Right.
misconception.
I mean, that's just the language, right?
No.
Like,
No. That can't
if you're,
be.
if you're telling me
You
that
don't
fish
need
has a
100%.
definition within your language, and then you
Let-
find
let me
and you
let me
identify
ask you
something
this.
as not being
Do you-
like I just
do you
don't know.
do you understand everything about reality and philosophy?
No.
Then how can you effectively say you understand it? How do you even have a concept of philosophy?
I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, like then why bother, right? Like you see,
Because I care about you. I care about your health.
what, do you know me and everything about me or my health or how my health works?
Do you engage in philosophy?
I don't know. According to your definition, probably
No,
not.
according to your definition, do you engage in philosophy?
For my definition of philosophy, yes.
Okay, well,
but for
then
your definition
that's
of
all I
philosophy,
need
no.
to know, and I'm worried about your health.
Okay, but like, it would be like saying, do you engage in shenanigans?
Is that related to tomfoolery by any chance?
Yes, 100%.
Occasionally.
Yeah. So hijinks, if you will.
Hijinks, yeah.
Yeah, no. So I mean, like, well, all you're doing is you're saying that I have this definition that means something is bad for you. Therefore, if you do this thing, even if you don't agree with the definition, it's bad for you. It's like, hey, there's this rat poison that's going to cause your blood to coagulate. Sorry, that is a tough word.
Coagulate.
Coagulate is the word I was going for. That is the correct one. But if
Maybe.
you eat rat poison and your blood coagulates, you're going to die,
Sure.
right? So I give you a box of cereal and I tell you it's rat poison. That if you eat the cereal, you're going to die.
Yeah.
That is you in philosophy. You're saying that there's this thing that's bad for you. You're telling me it's rat poison, and I'm telling you I don't think it's rat poison, and I'm not seeing the harmful effects, and you have no way of convincing me otherwise, and you have no way of showing me otherwise, other than saying, maybe if I eat some of the cereal, it'll prove to you that I'm willing to show you that the cereal's bad for you. But then you eat the cereal, and you don't die. Your blood doesn't coagulate.
Oh,
And then I say, it's
hold
really,
on,
really
hold on,
hard to determine what's bad for me here, right?
No. To be sure, I am in extreme pain right now. I have been in extreme pain for about an hour and a half. My cognition has been actively deteriorating. You can't. I'm reporting it to you. In good faith. My cognition is actively deteriorating the more I try to think about explaining this to you. And that is the harm of philosophy, is that it makes you less able to communicate clearly about things and to think clearly about things.
And I hate to have to call it into discussion. I've been enjoying it, but I got to get ready to put my little girl to bed.
No, it's all good. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me on. I
hope
I've been able to therapize you.
Kem?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Is that how you pronounce your name? Kem or Kem?
Yeah, it's correct. Kem Regic.
Kem. K-E-M.
K-E-M. Very simple.
Gotcha. Cool.
You'd think that 3 letters would be easy for people, but people still figure out how to fuck it up sometimes.
I feel like maybe people say Kim. Like,
oh, I get Kim a lot. I get Ken. They're like, yo, Ken. That's not my name. It sucks. It sucks when I have a friend whose name is Kim, and so whenever we're in the same room, it's both of us look over when somebody says something.
If only there were a way that we could come up with a distinctive meaning to give you your own identity.
You can call me a therapist. You can call me a rabbit. You can call me anything you want. Just don't call me late for dinner, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, but hey, I enjoyed having you on. I like to get you back on soon.
Yeah, man.
Also, if you could send me an email of some other beliefs that you have.
I can run it down. I'm the most controversial thing that I would say is I'm an anti-theist in this space. So I'm worse than an atheist in most cases.
Alright.
I firmly believe that religious institutions ought to be persecuted in society. Not religious individuals, but religious institutions, because they're actively harmful. I don't know. Other than that, I have some weird political beliefs, but none of that is super important these days. Well, it's not like politics matters.
So do I. Could you just send some to me? I'd like to bring you back on, man.
You know what? I'll plug my website. I'll shamelessly plug my website, thestatehasnorights.com. It's an outline of my ethical and political philosophy.
You're not an anarchist, are you?
Anarchy is...
Are you a socialist?
Anarchy is the specter that haunts me in the darkest hours of my night.
Are you a socialist?
I am not an anarchist because I believe that a state must exist, but if I am shown to be wrong, I will run into the bosom of Mother Anarchy with arms wide open, and I need to know if you're a socialist. I am not a socialist, not by any formal definition.
Okay, just
curious. I would consider myself a libertarian of some sort.
Ah, interesting.
The state has no rights.
.com. Shout out to Phantom for helping me for the HTML on that site. It's under construction. Most of the hyperlinks are some of the hyperlinks are links, but some of them will reveal commentary for each of the statements. I've recently started reading agorist texts, and I think that we agree on some things, but
I think we agree on a lot. So
we'll see about that.
Okay, all right.
Extreme positions.
So do I.
Well.
So that'll be fun.
I don't have any extreme positions. I am the political center. All of you are extremists because you disagree with me.
Right.
But we'll save that one for another one, another time, so your daughter can get to bed on time. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for tuning in, people. Well, we'll be back maybe next week. I don't have a planned guest, but we'll see. All right, guys. I will catch y'all later.